It's a sad day for America. Hard stop.
This is no time for celebration. I think it's sad.
I have fought Trump for a long time, but I'm sad that this has happened.
How are you feeling about a historic day? It's sad.
And this is a day of profound sadness that an ex-president is indicted, but it's also a time to celebrate.
They're very sad. They are sitting around, probably crying as we speak, about all these indictments coming down on Trump. They're arresting their political opponent in an election year. Anyway, Steve wrote a book about it. Joining me now, Steve Krakauer wrote a book, author, Uncovered. The book's not, the author isn't in there. He's the author of the book, Uncovered, joining us now. I said that totally wrong. Steve, the media, they're heartbroken about these Trump indictments, aren't they?
Oh, yes. They're just so sad. Yeah, I think they're a little bit, well, let's be honest. They're crying from happiness on one hand. I think that they have potentially correctly diagnosed that the only way to stop Trump from beating Biden in 2024 is to ride on the coattails of the lawfare that we're seeing, not just in the 4 criminal indictments, but in the civil suits, the E. Jean Carroll case, just on and on and on. And so I do think that, they're really putting all their hopes on that. But if they are sad about anything, if they're really, truly sad, I think it's at the fact that Trump is not the calling card towards ratings dominance and clicks that they had expected in 2024, the way that he was in 2016 and 2020. They were able to ride that. The election is a dud. Donald Trump ran away with it on the GOP side. The Democrats seem to be going ahead and running Joe Biden, as crazy as that sounds. And so they're not getting this ratings boost. In fact, it's going the opposite direction. There's cuts across the board. NBC, BuzzFeed shutting down. LA Times is cutting basically their entire DC bureau. So yes, they're sad, but they are certainly not sad about Donald Trump getting indicted.
Do they love him, Steve? Do they hate him? I mean, he's a human being they cannot stop talking about. During his presidency, it was every newscast, all night, every hour. I can't decide whether it's love, whether it's hate, a mixture of both.
I think it is. I think as the old Facebook little button you could choose, it's complicated. Okay, it's complicated between them. I think there's a real sadomasochistic relationship going on between Donald Trump and the media. It's love and hate. It's pleasure and pain. There is something that there. And I think it goes both ways, we should say. Donald Trump, I think, has a very love-hate relationship with the media, too. I think in a lot of circumstances, particularly as you look at 2016, Donald Trump would not have been able to rise to the level he did without having that antagonistic foil in the media to prop him up. He was able to make them the enemy, and they played that part perfectly. They really fed right into it by the way that they handled things. So yes, I think it's really love and hate, and it goes way back. Donald Trump was part of the New York City media scene for a very long time. The guy was host of The Celebrity Apprentice. He was hosting Saturday Night Live in November of 2015, making little jokes with them on the set. It's part of these sketches about what life would be like, how wonderful it would be. When he became president in 2016, no one thought it was possible. And then it became possible, and he became president, and they were so shocked. They were so just horrified that maybe they had a small part in helping put him there. And yes, so then it's turned into this very personal level of hate.
You have a piece in The Hill called the Court TV election. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I think that when I was at CNN, we would talk about. I was there in the 2012 election. I was a journalist and a producer and executive there. And 2012 election year was a time when we got great ratings, and it was a big excitement from that. And then you would have like the Jodi Arias trial, or you'd have any number of these trials. O.J. Simpson being the first one, where for the court TVs of the world, or for Headline News or HLN at the time, that became their election. It was like you got all the horse race and you got to talk each night about what happened in court and kind of break down each little angle. That was their version of the election. Well, in 2024, we don't really have an election year. It's pretty much done. Now, that could all change. Who knows what's going to happen? But what we do know is there's going to be a lot of court from the Supreme Court and what they decide, which could be truly crucial. Do they let Donald Trump actually get removed from ballots? I think that's probably unlikely, but that's a possibility. To these 4 criminal indictments, which all actually might happen this election year, before the convention, we may get to actually watch Atlanta. Maybe it's not going to be Fannie Willis because she might be removed because of her impropriety with her prosecutor, but that case will go forward. We might be able to actually watch that. Donald Trump actually wants the D.C. federal case to be televised. He wants people to watch that. So we are going to get a lot of court in 2024. Court will become our politics in this election cycle, for better or worse.
Steve, you wrote a piece about 2016, this little Al Smith dinner and how it changed everything. Anyway, here's a little clip of it.
Governor Cuomo, our great senators. Hi, Chuck. He used to love me when I was a Democrat, you know. Hillary accidentally bumped into me, and she very civilly said, "Pardon me." And I very politely replied, "Let me talk to you about that after I get into office." You know, the president told me to stop whining. But I really have to say, the media is even more biased this year than ever before, ever. You want the proof? Michelle Obama gives a speech, and everyone loves it. It's fantastic. They think she's absolutely great. My wife, Melania, gives the exact same speech. And people get on her case. And I don't get it. I don't know why.
Why'd that change everything?
Oh, even in just that short clip, there's so many important things that you can watch there. First of all, he's making this joke about Chuck Schumer, Katie Couric, journalist, objective journalist, sitting there yucking it up. Then you've got Gayle King in the background. So many journalists were on that dais there. You've got Hillary Clinton just cracking up about the possibility that she would need to be pardoned for, her criminal activities during the 2015 and 2016 cycle. But the most important thing about this dinner, Jesse, this is just this wonderful time capsule that explains so much. The date here, this was October 19th. This was the day after the third presidential debate between Trump and Hillary Clinton. A very fiery and tough debate. This was the one hosted by Chris Wallace, if you remember. And then Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton go to this fancy white tie dinner. I had to look up what white tie meant. That's even fancier than black tie dinner. And they're just making jokes, and they're there with the media and the elite. And you have to understand, how could this be possible? Just weeks before the election, how is this possible? It's because these people in this room thought there was not a chance that Donald Trump was about to become president. So why not? We'll laugh at it a little bit. Then he'll lose, he'll go away, he'll go back to Celebrity Apprentice. And then he didn't. How guilty do these 40 or 50 people on that dais and hundreds sitting in the room just laughing at all of his jokes feel after that? Just guilty and fearful of what might be coming. That is why we saw the media turn on him in the just completely absurd way that they did. They just were just stunned and truly, I think, I don't believe that this is the case, but they believe that they helped put him there, and they got called out by their liberal friends for doing just like this, sitting at this dinner and laughing about it just weeks before the election.
Steve, why don't the American people care about this election? You referenced all the newsroom layoffs, which we're thrilled about here. But people are tuned out. They are tuned out. And Trump, you mentioned it, he's always been ratings gold. Even Trump. They don't care about Trump. They don't care about Biden. Why?
I think people are sick of where things stand with this political process. I think that the Mar-a-Lago raid and then the subsequent, I really think if we want to boil it down, the raid and then the subsequent Jack Smith indictment related to the raid has turned off not just Republicans, but the average independent, the average apolitical person who looks at this and goes, how is this possible that they're doing this to this former president? That is why it was not possible for a lot of these Republicans to get any traction, the Ron DeSantis of the world. It was a done deal. Once the feds raided Mar-a-Lago, it was going to be very hard for anyone to beat Donald Trump after people watched that. And so I think that there's an element of that. And then on the other side, Joe Biden, it is incomprehensible that Joe Biden would be running for president, let alone any position of any element of power. I mean, for the average person, again, non-political people, they look at Joe Biden and they say, this person is not able to lead us. And yet the Democrats are trotting him out there, probably because they don't have a viable alternative in their vice president, Kamala Harris. And so I think people are just so turned off by this whole process. They feel like they know where this is going, at least as we get to the convention. Now, maybe it heats up as we get towards November. But right now, everyone is just so done with this process, so done with the choices, and they know where this is heading.